and held my hand as we walked through the park. He is talking to me again. My 2-year-old picked me a flower, and then as he was walking away, he turned around and told me, "You need to put it in water, Mommy." They are beginning to warm up to me again. I can see their fear melting, but there is still an air of caution there. My daughter isn't quite as forgiving, and I'm searching for subtle changes. I know that they will come, but she will be my biggest test. In my parents' home last night, my oldest was playing with my brother-in-law's air rocket in the front yard. When my brother-in-law went outside to put the rocket away, there was one missing. My son swore that they were there when he came inside. Normally, he would go onto his grave swearing that he hadn't done something, even when all the evidence pointed to the contrary. We were all wandering around aimlessly with flashlights looking for the missing rocket. I took my son aside and I told him that I needed him to tell me the truth. I told him that I wouldn't be mad, not a promise I had kept in the past, but that we needed to know what happened to it. He took his flashlight and shined it high into the tree where it reflected off the white tip of the rocket. He had known exactly where the rocket had landed and finally trusted me with the truth. My heart was so full in that moment, my son wasn't afraid of me. I know that this change will happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of prayer, but I'm talking to God again and rebuilding that relationship while I rebuild my relationship with my children. I have sent small prayers to God continuously since that day. I pray for strength to get through a single moment. I praise Him for all the small accomplishments. I pray for wisdom. And I pray prayers of thanks that He put me in Orlando on Friday in the lecture where He worked a change in my life. Okay, so prayer, that's where it starts. That's where Rebecca started, but she didn't stay there. And now she's taking things into her own hands. And so Jacob now has been gone for 20 years. He's learned the lessons of deceit from his uncle. He's been tricked and deceived. He now has his home family. And he wants to go back home. He doesn't want this anymore. And he says, and I love this, even after those revivals of heart, those times with God, we still got to face what's going on at home. And he commanded them, saying, "Go speak to my lord Esau." Well, notice Jacob's words. He changes, he reverses them. He's the Lord over Esau. He has the birthright and the blessing. But now he changes the words to say, "Go tell my lord Esau that his servant Jacob," what a conniver, "I have dwelt with Laban and stayed there till now." And Jacob says, "You would tell them that I have oxen, donkeys, flocks, male and female servants, and I've sent to tell my Lord that I might find favor in his sight." See what he's looking for? He's looking for grace, unconditional acceptance. Then the messengers returned to Jacob saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and he's coming to meet you too." And 400 men are with him. Don't you just love this? I mean, God has got a sense of humor for sure. So Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed. This is what happens to us Jacobs. Us Jacobs, we get to a point where we can't get out, and the very first thing that happens in relationships is fear. And Jacob, if you're like me, it's not just fear, but distress. Not just stress, but distress. Which is another word for, guess what? Depression. I had fibromyalgia, severe chronic fatigue, ulcerative bleeding colitis, and severe depression for 13 years. 13 years, it's a horrible time. All that time that we lived on the farm with the horses and the sheep, I was sick as a dog. And when you're sick, it's even more difficult to respond properly. Which is all of God's design to bring us to the end of ourselves. Boy, God knew that He had to give me a Nebuchadnezzar experience in order to break me fully. And you know what happened once I stopped controlling my family and stopped realizing that I was no longer God? I got better. And I haven't had those symptoms for 15 years. You see, when we're trying to control other people, when we're trying to manipulate the situation, when fear dominates our lives, it can control our bodies and wreak havoc inside of us, and that's what it did for me. So he divides the people, still scheming and planning, into herds of camels and 2 camps. The word 2 camps is the word for Machanahim, which happens to have the word chen in the center of it, which is the word for grace. And so this word kind of appears inside words, outside words. It's all over the place. Even the word for gift and present, which you're about to see, is the word for grace in reverse. So God is trying to tell us that they're looking for unconditional acceptance. But they're finding it in all the wrong ways. You can't find unconditional acceptance by trying to control and manipulate and dominate other people. And it says, "Go find my brother again and tell him that your servant Jacob is behind us, and I'm going to appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterwards I'm going to see his face. Perhaps he'll, there it is again, he'll accept me. Ready for this? I want you to see this verse right here. I'm going to show it to you in literal Hebrew. You ready? Ready? Watch what it says now. Your servant Jacob is behind us. I'm going to cover his face with the gift, the one going before my face, and I will see his face. Perhaps he'll lift up my face. And the gift passed over before his face, and he lodged there that night in the camp. What word is different in literal Hebrew? If you don't get it, I have put it in red, and it's bold. Face, 5 times. Face, 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 face. There's no other verse in the Bible that has one word 5 times in the same verse. Why has God given us this repeated word, face, face? Because you're going to come face to face with your most frightening enemy in about 10 minutes. And I want you to roll up your sleeves and get ready for this, because this is going to get bloody. Are you ready? This is going to be a great fight. So when the president went over before him, he rose up that night, took his 2 wives and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. Jacob is at the Jabbok. He's about to wrestle with a man at night, and the word wrestle in Hebrew is the word for Jabbok. Jacob is about going to the Jabbok to Jabbok with a man. And there it is. They not only sound alike, they look alike. And the reason for this is that God is not only communicating on a word sentence grammar level, He is communicating on a sound level and on a visual level and the way that the letters are formed. And if God goes to this extent to bring truth to us in this kind of detail, don't you think that He has designed your life to every possible detail? The person you're married to, the children you have, where you live, everything that happens in your life is designed by an all-wise God. It's amazing. It's amazing. Jacob at the Jabbok is about to Jabbok with a man. I'm not pronouncing any Hebrew. It would sound better in Hebrew, but the Jabbok River is 75 miles long. Not very long, but it's extremely windy. Jacob, the crooked man, which the word crooked in Hebrew means unrighteous. Jacob, the crooked man, always holding on to things that are rightfully his, is at the crooked river, about to twist with this man at night. Talk about design. God does this for all of us. But unfortunately, we don't get it the first time, and we've got to repeat it. We repeat it with a second marriage, third marriage. We repeat it with another child. If you don't learn your lesson the first time, you'll learn it again, hopefully. So Jacob was left alone, and boy, Jacobs of this world, we hate to be alone. I don't like being alone. I want to be with other people that I can control. And there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of day. That's a long time to wrestle, isn't it? How many wrestled in high school or college? I wrestled in college. It was intramural, but I played basketball in high school, but I wanted to wrestle. I was undefeated in college. I was fast, and I was strong. We got into this one match. It was the final, and all my friends, all the colleges there. This is a cool time. And this kid comes out, and he's like 6'4". I could count his ribs. He was so skinny, and I'm thinking like, I'm gonna break his ribs. I'm gonna kill him. And so he comes out there. In the first 2 periods, I'm up like 22-0. I'm slamming him down. I'm just having a blast with this kid. And then we get to the 3rd period, and I'm up, and I've got him down. I'm trying to pin him, and one shoulder goes down, the other one pops up. You know, it's like he's double jointed. You know, and I could not get him down. I used every ounce of strength that I have until finally my muscles turned to like rubber, and I just like it was more like Jello. You know, and I lost my strength. Next thing I know, this kid reverses me, flips me over. Next thing I know, I've got my right foot behind my head stuck. And in teeter-totter form, he pins me like this. I'm like a teeter-totter. And you know, the ref goes, pin, you know. I could not get my foot out from behind my head. And there I was, stuck on the mat. And